Chapter 1085. Wobbeye's face was filled with disdain, but he didn't reject. He glanced at Elvis and said, "Go bring the grapes out." Elvis directly ignored Wobbeye's words. Xiao Meng wanted to bring the grapes to the stream, he was just doing it for her. There were a total of 9 large stone basins, each filled with grapes. Elvis and Leah took 3 trips to bring out all the stone basins. Barit, Oratin and Wobbeye each carried 2 large stone basins towards the stream. When they reached the stream, Fei Rui was also there. He waved at Gu Mengmeng when he saw her from afar, shouting excitedly, "Great messenger!" Fei Rui's eyes were really clean, just like those of an innocent puppy. They shone with the purest brightness, making one want to smile at him. When it came to playing with water, no one could compare to Fei Rui. Once he heard that Gu Mengmeng wanted to wash the grapes, Fei Rui volunteered to handle the part in the water. He got Elvis to pour the 9 large basins of grapes into a more spacious area in the stream. Then, he gently shook his cheeks, causing the fish in the stream to form a wall downstream, ensuring that not a single grape would be carried away by the current. Then, he transformed into his half-beast form and started swimming in circles. The small fish that had been blocking the way downstream also joined in under Fei Rui's command. One of them swam clockwise in the inner circle, while the other swam anti-clockwise in the middle. Fei Rui swam clockwise in the outermost circle. The grapes danced back and forth in the 3 layers of water, as if they were little fairies that had fallen to the mortal world. Gu Mengmeng clicked her tongue in wonder as she watched from the shore. Damn, a primitive version of a washing machine. Elvis and Leah exchanged glances before saying, "The surface of the water is going to freeze in winter. When do you intend to let him return to the sea?" Lee's arm naturally rested on Elvis's shoulder, his long and narrow eyes sparkling with tears. "Or, do you want to keep him to make fish fillets in vinegar sauce?" Gu Mengmeng held her forehead. Back in Zacharias, she had told Dora that Fei Rui was the cause of her male's trouble. The 2 of them still remembered it clearly. Not long after, Fei Rui walked out of the water and transformed a pair of legs at the same time. He allowed the water to slowly drip down his body. He didn't feel that it was inappropriate at all. After all, he was a fish. The grapes seemed to have been given life, jumping into the stone basin one by one. The surface of the grapes reflected the sunlight and the water, looking extremely sparkling. Before Gu Mengmeng could even thank Fei Rui, she jumped down from Elvis's arms and grabbed Wobbeye before throwing him into the water. Wobbeye was caught off guard and looked at Gu Mengmeng in confusion. "What are you doing?" Gu Mengmeng stood by the shore and rubbed her hands. "Do you want to wash yourself or do you want me to help you?" Cole crossed his arms again and stared at Gu Mengmeng with a guarded look. "Are you a freaking pervert?" Gu Mengmeng jumped into the water and gave him another kick, sending Wobbeye into the deepest part of the water. "Stop talking nonsense. Hurry up and wash up to help me grind the grapes." Chapter 1086. Wobbeye looked at Gu Mengmeng as if she was an idiot. "Are you out of your mind? This basin is so small. How can I enter?" Gu Mengmeng tilted her head. "Just reveal your snake tail and roll around like how Fei Rui did in the water just now. Crush these grapes into pulp for me." Wobbeye rolled his eyes at Gu Mengmeng before retreating into the stream. He reverted to his original form and coiled there. His body, which was as thick as a train, appeared in front of Gu Mengmeng. He said in snake language, "If you are not blind, look for yourself. Can I even enter?" Gu Mengmeng looked at Wobbeye, then at the stone basin. This stone basin was so big that it could be used as a bathtub for her. But compared to Wobbeye's original form, it was just like the cap of a mineral water bottle. If she wanted Wobbeye to enter, it would really be difficult. Gu Mengmeng pursed her lips. "Little shit, you should lose some weight." Wobbeye didn't even have the mood to strangle her to death. Anyway, it was not the first or second day that she had been causing a ruckus. he reverted to his human form. Just crush them into pulp, right? Gu Meng Meng nodded. Then, Wabier stuck out his tongue impatiently at a spot not far away. Then, over a dozen little snakes as thick as an arm slithered out from the bushes. They didn't come to Gu Meng Meng. Instead, they entered the stream and swam for a long time, as if they were bathing. Then, Wabiai placed one of the stone basins by the stream. The little snakes directly jumped out of the water and landed accurately in the basin. Then, they squirmed around in the basin, causing the grapes to bulge visibly. Then, they slowly sank into the basin. Finally, Gu Meng Meng saw a little snake rolling around in the basin, crushing every single grape into pulp. Not to mention the whole grape, even the grape seeds could not be seen. Using the same method, the 9 large basins of grapes soon turned into 9 basins of fruit puree. After the little snakes completed their mission, they swam out of the basin, washed their bodies in the stream, and then returned to the bushes as if nothing had happened. While the little snake was crushing the grapes, Gu Meng Meng had already asked someone to fetch the beast skin and beast tendon. She asked Elvis to scrape a groove on the side of the stone basin, then used the beast skin to cover the stone basin tightly and used the beast tendon to secure it. This kind of sealing effect was definitely not very good, but there was no place to buy sealed cans here, so they could only do this for the time being. She got Oritin and Barit to carry the 9 pots back to Elvis's cave, while Gu Meng Meng brought her partner and Wabiai into the forest. After wandering around aimlessly for a long time, Gu Meng Meng set her sights on a towering ancient tree. Such a tree would definitely be priceless in the modern world, but it was not something rare in the beast world. Actually, it was quite a pity to chop it down, but Gu Meng Meng wanted to use it now and there was no better choice. So, she pointed at the tree and said, "Hubby, I want this tree. Just cut it from here and leave a stump. We can use it as a table the next time we come." Elvis had helped Gu Meng Meng cut the bamboo previously, and was now considered a skilled worker. He cut wherever Gu Meng Meng pointed at, without any deviation. Chapter 1087. As for the fact that Gu Meng Meng kept calling him little shit, he had resisted it at the start, then it became a shadow in his heart, and now he had gotten used to it. A person's ability to accept was really very strong. Sometimes, Wabiai would think that now that he heard Gu Meng Meng call him Wabiai, he felt strangely nervous and guilty, as if he had been caught doing something extremely bad. The snake tail coiled around the trunk of the tree as it followed Gu Meng Meng back. A 5th-level snake beast was a godlike figure no matter where he was placed, but he just had to be a porter for this little girl. But he just felt that it was not as comfortable as Gu Meng Meng ordering him around when others were serving him. TSK, a natural slave. Wabiai cursed himself in his heart as he dragged the tree back for Gu Meng Meng. Gu Meng Meng drew with her pen that the tree trunk should be cut into several sections at waist height. Then, she asked Leah to cut off a piece as thick as a finger from each section. Then, she hollowed out the rest of the tribe to make a wooden barrel. She then cut off a piece to make a lid and used beast skin to wrap the lid to achieve a sealing effect. But the newly made wooden barrel could not be used directly, after all, the smell was too strong. So he asked Barit and Oritin to take it to the stream for Fei Rue to wash it again, before placing it in the shade to dry. Leah used the wood from the wooden barrel to make various types of cutlery, maximizing the use to avoid wastage. Although there were many trees in the beast world, Gu Meng Meng said that environmental protection is very important, so they tried not to cut down too many trees. If they really needed to cut down a tree, they had to make full use of it and not waste it. So Leah piled up the leftover pieces of cutlery at the side, to be used as firewood during winter. By the time everything was sorted out, the sky had already darkened. Oritin never missed mealtimes, so he carried his prey back early and stared at Leah eagerly. If Gu Meng Meng had not seen the word food clearly written in his eyes, she would have fantasized that Oritin had ulterior motives towards Leah. Barit seemed to have moved to a place near Elvis's cave. It was not in Elvis's territory, but close to it, so he followed Oriton here. Ian and Fay Rue were the last to arrive. Both of them looked as if they had something on their minds and wanted to say something. Gu Mengmeng ignored Ian and instead tugged at Fay Rue to show some concern. "What's wrong? Do you have something to tell me?" Fay Rue's big eyes were clear and clean. Every time they looked into each other's eyes, he felt like he was in the vast galaxy, sparkling and pure. Fay Rue bit his lip and nodded. "Great messenger, I have to return to the sea." This was good news. After all, Leah had just threatened to turn Fay Rue into vinegar fish slices if he did not let Fay Rue go. Although it was a joke, Gu Mengmeng could understand that her nonsense in Zacharias had caused Elvis and Leah to have a knot in their hearts against Fay Rue. Originally, he was still thinking about how to not hurt this child's heart, but now that he took the initiative to bring it up, it was good. Fay Rue said, "I won't be able to come out during winter when the water freezes. Although I don't lack food, I will still feel lonely alone. So I want to return to the sea to see my sister before winter arrives. I will come back during the rainy season next year. Is that okay?" Chapter 1088. Fay Rue shook his head. "I am Fay Rue from Saint Nazaire. I am no longer the Prince of Bridges." Gu Mengmeng glanced at Leah guiltily, then at Elvis. She didn't dare to reply. Leah was satisfied with Gu Mengmeng's reaction. He wagged his tail. "When did you join Saint Nazaire? Why didn't I know?" Fay Rue blinked his eyes aggrievedly, then looked at Gu Mengmeng. His voice carried a tinge of sobbing, like a little puppy. "Messenger. Am I not from Saint Nazaire?" Gu Mengmeng's heart clenched at his question. She tugged at Lee's arm and pursed her lips. She looked at Leah pleadingly. Leah took 2 deep breaths. "Up to you." Gu Mengmeng then smiled and said, "Bridges is also a part of Saint Nazaire, so you are the Prince of Bridges and also a tribesman of Saint Nazaire. You are from the sea tribe and are different from the land beasts. It would be too cruel to ask you to stay here even during winter. You can go back if you want. You can come back whenever you want. Saint Nazaire will always welcome you." Fay Rue smiled. His eyes curved like crescent moons. He nodded heavily. He looked extremely happy. "That." Gu Mengmeng hesitated for a moment before saying, "There's something I feel I should tell you." Fay Rue tilted his head. He looked at Gu Mengmeng like an innocent child. Gu Mengmeng took a deep breath. "Dora is dead." Fay Rue's expression visibly stiffened. His eyes dimmed. He lowered his head. "Oh." Gu Mengmeng didn't press Fay Rue for his feelings. She also didn't want to know what had happened between him and Dora. After all, no matter who was in the right and wrong in the past, Gu Mengmeng still felt that since she was dead, all past wrongs should be forgotten. Gu Mengmeng sighed. Then, she smiled. She wanted to ask Fay Rue when he planned to leave. But Fay Rue looked up at Gu Mengmeng first. He took out a beast-skin bag and opened it in front of Gu Mengmeng. "Oh yes, great messenger, do you need this?" Gu Mengmeng looked down. It looked like salt crystals. But they were much thicker than the ones in Saint Nazaire. She dipped her hand into it and tasted it. It was indeed salty. Gu Mengmeng's eyes lit up. "Sea salt." Fay Rue nodded and said, "Yes, we mermaids can extract this kind of salt from seawater, but we've never seen land beast men need it before. I saw Lord Leah using it in his cooking yesterday and felt that it looked familiar, so I returned to the sea overnight to separate a little for you to see. If it's something useful, I'll separate more from the sea this winter and bring it back for you during the rainy season next year." The output of the salt lake in Saint Nazaire was limited. Saint Nazaire had already used up a lot of the salt to preserve food in the past 2 years. At this rate, the salt lake would be used up in less than 5 years. Fei Rui's discovery was a great help to Gu Mengmeng, so she nodded repeatedly. It's useful, of course it's useful. Without this thing, I will die. Chapter 1089. Gu Mengmeng nodded and chuckled. But Leah tooted. He has found a good reason to join Saint Nazir. This time, I can't do anything to him. Gu Mengmeng shook Li's arm and looked up with a smile. All right, don't argue with a child. Leah pinched Gu Mengmeng's little face. He finally gave up. Then when do you intend to set off? Gu Mengmeng asked. Fei Rui smiled and replied, if the great emissary agrees, I will set off now. So soon. Gu Mengmeng was a little surprised. She thought he would set off tomorrow at the earliest. The sky was already dark. Fei Rui nodded. Anyway, I am going by water. It doesn't matter if there is no sun. Moreover, Melinda is pregnant. I want to hurry back to accompany her. After all, it is her first child. Melinda is pregnant. Gu Mingming's reaction was extreme. She immediately jumped up. Her eyes widened and the corners of her lips curled up uncontrollably. Leah pinched Gu Mingming's little nose. If Sandy sees your expression, she will definitely be jealous. Wabi chuckled. Those who don't know might think the child is yours. Get lost. Gu Mengmeng roared at Wabi. Then, she looked at Fei Rui. All right, hurry back. Help me send my regards to Melinda. Tell her I wish her and her child good health. Yeah, I will. Fei Rui nodded. Then, he tilted his head with a smile. Then, great messenger, please enjoy your meal. I will take my leave. Gu Mengmeng insisted on sending Fei Rui off. After all, they would be separated for an entire winter. Elvis and Wabi accompanied Gu Mengmeng to the well to send Fei Rui off. Leah stayed behind to watch over the pot. After watching Fei Rui jump into the well, Gu Mengmeng rested her head on Elvis's shoulder. Actually, he didn't wish for Dora to die. I saw it just now. He was very upset when he heard the news of Dora's death. Elvis tightened his grip around Gu Mingming's waist. Females are a precious resource to every tribe. No matter how weak Fei Rui is, he was once the leader of a tribe. Dora was also someone he valued before. Gu Mingming's eyes widened. After Elvis said that, Gu Mengmeng frowned. She sat up straight and looked at Elvis. So, before I came, Sandy and Maya were also people you valued? Elvis was stunned for half a second before he laughed. Are you kidding me? Before you came, Saint Zay was just a place for me to relieve my boredom. In other words, he didn't care about the tribe, let alone the females in the tribe. In the past, if it wasn't for Leah who kept persuading him not to kill females for the sake of the tribe, how would Nina survive till now? He would have died 800 times over. If a perfect female was like that, what about a half-beast female? Gu Mengmeng thought about it and agreed, so she chuckled and leaned back on his shoulder. Hubby, am I so petty? The thought of someone else being important to you makes me feel uncomfortable. I like how petty you are. You have to maintain it, understand? Elvis kissed the side of Gu Mengmeng's face. Gu Mengmeng pursed her lips and chuckled. She nodded in response. Wabi rolled his eyes at the side. You only know how to flaunt your love for each other all day long. TSK, the entire world is filled with the sour stench of love. Digression. Chapter 1090. By the time she returned to the cave, Leah had just served the piping hot meal on the table. Meanwhile, Waratin was using his life to act out the longing for her with paralysis. Gu Mengmeng felt that Oritin had never looked forward to seeing her so much in his life. Gu Mengmeng could not compare to a bowl of meat. Barit sat quietly at the dining table. That was the spot he had sat at in the afternoon. For some reason, that seat seemed to belong to him. He just wanted to guard it and not let anyone else sit there. Ian leaned against a tree with his arms crossed, still looking at Gu Mengmeng with a sickly look. Gu Mengmeng paused when she walked past him and asked, "You have something to tell me too, right? Why, is your sister going to give birth too?" Ian rolled his eyes at Gu Mengmeng. He wanted to rebuke her, but held himself back because of Wabi beside her. He just said, "Mandy confessed to me." Mandy was one of the 16 valued females brought back from the beauty pageant. She was crowned the first beauty of the beast world by Gu Mengmeng because she had recruited the most warriors to enter Saint Nazir at the same time. Gu Mengmeng thought about it. It seemed that ever since she told everyone the story of the flying bird and the fish, Mandy had been especially attentive towards Ian. She was sure that the flying bird in the story was Ian. She did not know whether it was her maternal instincts overflowing or she had a special desire to conquer males who had been hurt in love. Anyway, this Mandy had been trying to please Ian for a long time. Ian did not say anything, neither did he reject nor accept. But he had never given other females other than Mandy the chance to please him, so Gu Mengmeng was not surprised. She just nodded and said, "You intend to mate with her?" Ian remained silent for a moment before replying, "If you don't object, I will mate with her. After all, I have already reached the peak of 3rd level. If I want to break through, I have to mate with her." Gu Mengmeng was taken aback for a moment. She snorted and said, "Scumbag." Gu Mengmeng thought that only the Snake King Valley would use females as a tool to level up. Ian chuckled and said, "I told Mandy that this is the reason why I am willing to mate with her. She agreed to it herself." Gu Mengmeng looked at Ian with narrowed eyes for a while, then patted his shoulder and said, "Why do you have to do this, just like him? Do you have to make it sound so official and hide your emotions behind your motive? Why bother? At that time, if she really misunderstands you, won't you be the one who will be sad?" The tip of Ian's ear was stained with a suspicious red. He turned his face to the side and said, "I don't understand what you're saying." Gu Mengmeng did not expose him. She just swung her arms back and forth and said, "It's all right if you don't understand what I'm saying. You just need to know what you are doing." Mandy was a good girl. Although she was a little arrogant at times, she was considered very gentle and considerate compared to the other females in the beast world. If you really hurt her heart, you'll be the one regretting it. Gu Mengmeng did not need to mention how good Mandy was, but Ian himself knew it very well. It was just that he felt a little awkward in his heart. Tilting his head, Ian looked at Gu Mengmeng from the corner of his eyes. He was a little hesitant, but he still opened his mouth to ask, "Do you really agree to me mating?" Chapter 1091. Ian clenched his fists and took 8 deep breaths before barely stabilizing his emotions. Then, he said, "Did you forget that I was the one who formed the blood alliance with Leah? Once I mate, the blood alliance will be useless." Gu Mengmeng already knew about this long ago. Crossing her arms in front of her chest, Gu Mengmeng squinted at Ian and said, "You flirted with Mandy last year and delayed mating until this year, just because of this?" Ian did not admit nor deny it. He just lowered his head and looked to the side. Although the bird tribe had always been arrogant, Ian was after all a hot-blooded male and did not have much resistance towards females. Moreover, Mandy was beautiful and passionate, so it was natural that he could not resist the temptation. It was just that Gu Mengmeng had been too busy for the past year and did not have the time to observe the emotional world of each of her friends. As a result, they had wasted so much time. Gu Mengmeng patted Ian's shoulder and said, "Didn't I tell you before? Our Saint Nazir does not rely on the blood alliance to keep people, but on the hearts of others. If your heart is with me, I don't need to restrict you and you will stay." If your heart is not here, you will only try your best to escape even with the Blood Alliance. What's the point of that? Ian looked at Gu Meng Meng and did not say a word. Gu Meng Meng had indeed told him these words in the past, but Ian had not met Mandy then, so he did not take it seriously. After that, Ian developed feelings for Mandy but was not sure how sincere Gu Meng Meng's words were. Moreover, even though the Eagle Owl tribe had pledged allegiance to Saint Nazir and many of their tribesmen had mated with Saint Nazir's females, he was still carrying a blood oath. He was also worried that once he mated and broke the blood oath, would Gu Meng Meng suspect that the Eagle Owl tribe was disloyal. But now, it seemed that he had thought too much. Gu Meng Meng was much more broad-minded than him. Gu Meng Meng sat back at the table and ate a mouthful of the meat in her bowl. She sighed in satisfaction and said, "You are after all the leader of the Eagle Owl tribe, your marriage must be held in a grand manner. It just so happens that Saint Nazir hasn't been lively for a long time, let's use your name to celebrate. Let's all have some fun." Ian walked to Gu Meng Meng awkwardly and stood by the table to look at her. After a long while, he said, "The Eagle Owl tribe has ceased to exist in this world since 2 years ago. I am also not some tribe leader. Pretentious." Gu Meng Meng clicked her tongue and did not reply. It was rare for Gu Meng Meng to say such things to him, but he did not have the urge to retaliate. He just lowered his head and said, "Gu Meng Meng, thank you." Gu Meng Meng chuckled. "Yeah, mate before winter. Don't drag it out for too long. By then, your status in the family will be lowered again." Ian gritted his teeth and said, Man will only accept me as her partner this year. My position in the family will not be much lower. Man. Gu Meng Meng looked at Ian meaningfully. Ian's ears turned even redder. He flapped his wings and said, "Since you don't have any objections, I'll go and tell Man. I won't disturb your meal." Gu Meng Meng waved her hands and said, "Bye-bye." After Ian flew away, only Gu Meng Meng's family of 3, Wabi, Oratin and Barit, were left. Gu Meng Meng propped her chin on her hand and said thoughtfully, "The people around me seem to be getting lesser and lesser." Chapter 1092. Gu Meng Meng. Wabi stood up from the stone bench. He placed one hand on the table and leaned his upper body forward. He placed his other hand on Gu Meng Meng's shoulder and said with a troubled expression, "Winter is coming and I don't have much time left to accompany you. Hurry up and do whatever you want to do, or else I won't be able to do it with you once I hibernate." "Ah, you have to leave too." Yes, Wabi had to return to the Snake King Valley twice a year, during the winter and dry seasons. Once the snow sealed the mountain, Gu Meng Meng could only stay in the cave with Elvis and Leah for at least 2 to 3 months. During the first winter, she and Elvis had just become partners and were in their honeymoon period. Later on, Leah barged in and the 3 of them stayed together in all sorts of awkward situations. Coupled with the fact that she was groggy due to her pregnancy, time flew by unknowingly. During the second winter, she went to Solder because of Cole's scheme. Other than Elvis and Leah, there were still the 3 little ones by her side. Although she was worried that Qi Xian was always hanging out with Cole, they were still a lively family and time passed quickly. This year, there was only her, Elvis and Leah left. Gu Meng Meng lowered her head and chuckled. "In the past, I spent the entire year alone and didn't feel lonely. Now that I'm used to having many friends by my side, I can't get used to the sudden silence." Gu Meng Meng turned to look at Elvis and smiled dejectedly. "Hubby, am I too greedy?" Elvis's heart ached at the look of disappointment on her face. He kissed her brow gently. "Why don't we dig the underground of Saint Nazir too? Then you can find whoever you want to play with during winter, all right?" Gu Meng Meng shook her head. "Sandy is not around and I don't have any friends to play with. Then I'll ask someone to fetch her back to accompany you." Elvis felt bitter. He had schemed with Leah for so long before he finally got rid of the 4 little ones and Sandy finally stopped fighting with them for his affections. But now, he had to fetch her back with his own hands. TSK, Sandy was indeed his #1 love rival. He had to be wary of her. Gu Mengmeng shook her head. Sandy has her own life, I can't always let her revolve around me. Upon hearing this, Elvis heaved a sigh of relief. Wabi cleared his throat and said, how about I stay behind to accompany you this winter? Gu Mengmeng pursed her lips and looked at Wabi in disdain. You always sleep like a log every winter. Other than taking up space, you are useless. What's there to compensate? More importantly, hibernating outside the Snake King Valley was not safe for Wabi. Be it temperature, humidity, or other factors, they were all unknown. For animals, the unknown was equal to danger. Although Wabi was very powerful, Gu Mengmeng was unwilling to let him take such an unnecessary risk. Besides, you know that I hate snakes, I hate shit, and I hate snakes that look like shit. You have all 3 of them, and you still want to sleep in my cave for the whole winter. Aren't you afraid that I won't be able to control myself and make you into snake soup? Chapter 1093. Gu Mengmeng laughed dryly. Damn, you have reached a whole new level of self-deprecation. Respect, respect. Wabi lifted his chin and took it as a compliment. He mimicked Gu Mengmeng and cupped his fists. Well said, well said. After the hubbub, everyone dispersed. The next morning, Gu Mengmeng woke up early, which surprised Leah and Elvis. They circled the large stone basin like a baby and giggled for a long time before leaving the cave. Oritin had yet to return from his hunt. According to Gu Mengmeng's usual schedule, her breakfast would only start in another 2 hours or so. However, she had woken up early today, causing Oritin, who shared his meals with her, to be unprepared. Barit and Wabi were standing near the entrance of the cave. They were also surprised to see Gu Mengmeng come out so early. Barit didn't say a word, but Wabi looked up lazily. Why? You can't bear to see me leave. So you're making use of the time to get used to me. Gu Mengmeng didn't retort. She just chuckled. I have to order you around while you can still move. Wabi's eyes lit up the moment he heard that. He straightened his back and asked Gu Mengmeng, who do I want to beat up? When do I go? Gu Mengmeng chuckled. Wabi was the most warlike person in this world. But it was rare for him to be so energetic. Gu Mengmeng didn't want to explain that he was overthinking. She just smiled and told Barit. Gather all the single males in the tribe and follow me out after breakfast. All right. Barit remembered that he had already given his life to Gu Mengmeng. So he didn't need to differentiate between right and wrong when it came to Gu Mengmeng's orders. He would do whatever she said. Wabi clicked his tongue. What's the point of gathering so many useless people? Isn't it enough to have me? Gu Mengmeng thought about it and smiled in a flattering manner. Then our great Wabi must be seen by everyone in the world. Wabi instantly felt a chill down his spine. He looked at Gu Mengmeng defensively. Are you trying to harm me? Gu Mengmeng nodded calmly. I want to turn you into snake slices and eat you. Wabi snorted in disdain. I'm afraid you'll die from overeating. While they were fooling around, Oritin had already returned from his hunt. Seeing that Gu Mengmeng had already woken up, he was first taken aback before his expression loosened. It was obvious that he was in a good mood. We can start eating early today. What a pleasant day. He still had a poker face, but Gu Mengmeng could almost see the colorful flowers blooming on top of his head spinning, as if he had activated the special effect of beautification. Holding her forehead, Gu Mengmeng felt that her cuteness might have gone awry. Elvis and Leah did not know what Gu Mengmeng wanted to do, but they were happy to see her full of energy. He had been worried that she would be depressed over Fay Roy's departure, Ian's mating, Wabi-Eye's hibernation, and Sandy's absence. Orton was in a good mood because he had an early breakfast, because having an early breakfast meant that he could have an early lunch and then an early dinner. Wabi-Eye was also in a good mood because there was a fight to fight. The single males in the tribe were also very happy. They were inexplicably excited because they had the opportunity to do something for the great messenger. Chapter 1094. After that, there were many different versions of what happened in the beast world. The general direction was about how Gu Meng Meng led the people of Saint Nazaire in a tough battle against the stray beasts, so much so that the stray beasts were too weak to come out and harass other tribes. Even those tribes that were treated as food every year were spared. This directly pushed Gu Meng Meng's reputation in the beast world to another level. Of course, there were many people who added fuel to the fire, such as spreading information to guide public opinion and ordering the stray beasts not to go out and hunt during this winter. However, these were all stories to be told later, so let's not talk about it for now. Everyone except for Gu Meng Meng herself was dumbfounded when she saw Gu Meng Meng standing by the lake with her arms crossed in front of her chest. Gu Meng Meng smiled and asked Elvis, "Do you still remember this place?" Elvis looked around, then nodded with a chuckle, saying, "I remember, I came here before." Gu Meng Meng chuckled and said, "Yeah, I just wanted to go down and touch a lotus root, but you thought I was going to commit suicide and threw a huge tantrum at me. Silly girl." Elvis rubbed Gu Meng Meng's little head and sighed, thinking to himself that he was not throwing a tantrum at that time, he was scared stiff by her. He thought she was going to transmigrate back and abandon him. The moment he saw her enter the water, he even held his breath, his heart forgot to beat and his pupils dilated instantly. He could still remember the feeling of his blood freezing at that time. At that time, he deeply felt fear and terror. The feeling of watching her slip through the cracks of his fingers, trying his best to hold on to her, but unable to touch her despite the ripples in the water. Even now, when he thought about it, he still felt like his heart was being pricked by countless needles. Gu Meng Meng did not refute and only took 2 steps back, saying, "I won't go near the water's surface, I will just stand here. You won't be worried like this, right?" Elvis chuckled and kissed Gu Meng Meng's forehead, saying, "Go down if you want to, I'm not worried." Gu Meng Meng was taken aback. She clearly remembered that Elvis looked like he was possessed the moment she got close to the surface of the lake. Now he suddenly said that he was not worried. Elvis pulled Gu Meng Meng into his arms and said, "At that time, I was too uneasy. I was worried that I was nothing in your heart, worried that you would abandon me without hesitation, worried that there was nothing in the beast world that was worth your nostalgia. I was too afraid that you would smile at me and say goodbye before falling into the lake, sinking all the way down to a place where I can no longer reach." At that time, she had not mated with Leah yet. Elvis always felt that she only loved Leah and not him. No matter how many times she said that, he just thought she was comforting him. From the bottom of his heart, he did not believe that she had feelings for him. Did he really think that she could abandon him at any time? So no matter how tormented his heart was, he still tried his best to bring her and Leah together, just so that he could place a little more bargaining chip on her scale. As long as she hesitated for a second when she wanted to leave, it would be enough for him to catch her in time. At the end of the day, it was the incident of her jumping into the lake when she was heartbroken that had traumatized Elvis. Now, he said he was not afraid anymore. So... Chapter 1095. I'm sorry. Elvis hugged Gu Meng Meng and planted a kiss between her brows. His eyes were filled with adoration. "I didn't believe this earlier." Gu Meng Meng hugged Elvis back and rested her chin on his chest. "It's not too late to believe it now." Gu Meng Meng tiptoed and kissed Elvis on the chin. "Then can I enter the water?" Elvis lowered his head and held the back of her head with one hand. He quickly kissed her lips, which she was about to pull away from. After a long lingering kiss, he said gently, "I will accompany you." Whenever Gu Mengmeng was around, everyone's gazes would unknowingly be on her. This resulted in this kiss being a public performance. Although they had been married for 2 years and had given birth to 4 children, Gu Mengmeng still felt it was inappropriate to display their affection in public. Blushing, she plunged into the water. Following that, 2 splashing sounds could be heard. Elvis and Leah must have jumped in right after her. Gu Mengmeng swam for a while before popping her head out to take a look. She realized that her 2 men and Wabi were all in the water. But they were clearly standing. Damn, height was indeed her weakness. The lotus flowers had already wilted. Only a large patch of lotus leaves swayed gently in the middle of the lake. Gu Mengmeng swam towards the middle of the lake. Elvis and Leah followed closely behind her, guarding her on both sides. Gu Mengmeng tried to dig out a lotus root. But it was hard for her to use her strength underwater. Hence, she could only return to the surface and explain the rough plan to Wabi, before ordering him to do the hard work. Wabi stared at Gu Mengmeng with a king's disdainful gaze. "Don't tell me that this is what you need my help with." Gu Mengmeng couldn't help but want to laugh at the thought of Wabi being happy the entire morning because he thought there was going to be a fight. She had been enjoying teasing Wabi more and more recently. It was quite interesting to see him hopping mad but unable to do anything to her. Although she had always been the one bullying Wabi never bore a grudge against her. Instead, the more she bullied him, the better their relationship became. This made Gu Mengmeng feel at ease. Gu Mengmeng really did not like that kind of relationship where she had to handle it carefully. Wabi didn't even need to dive into the water to dig out the lotus roots. In his half-beast form, he used his snake tail to probe into the mud, and with a casual tug, a huge lotus root was pulled out of the water along with the mud. Wabi did not hold back at all and directly threw it at Gu Mengmeng. Elvis quickly caught the lotus root that was as thick as Gu Mengmeng's thigh, then looked at her in a daze. Although Elvis's hands were quick and avoided the lotus root hitting her face, it did not stop the mud on the lotus root from splashing onto Gu Mengmeng's face. F***ck. Now, Gu Mengmeng could act as Master Bao just by sticking a crescent on her face. Little. **T. Gu Mengmeng wiped her face carelessly, then picked up the lotus and chased after Wabi. It was rare for Wabi to take advantage of something, and he felt an inexplicable sense of accomplishment. He felt as if he had reached the peak of his life. How could she catch up to Wabi in the water? Even if she had the kiss of the beast god, she wouldn't be able to swim faster than a snake. Chapter 1096. The truth was, Wabi still came up after all, and Gu Mengmeng did not really slice him into slices and stew the lotus roots. That was because he had plucked almost all the lotus roots in the water before coming up. At that moment, Gu Mengmeng only had eyes for the lotus roots and had long forgotten about chopping Wabi. This lake was a distance away from Saint Nazaire, and they had only arrived in the afternoon after setting off in the morning. Although Wabi was strong, he only had one tail. Although there were other males in the water to help, their swimming skills were not as good as Wabi's, and it was more strenuous for them to work underwater. So by the time everyone finished plucking the lotus roots, it was already midnight. During this period, Gu Mengmeng had already eaten dinner and instructed everyone not to wash off all the mud on the lotus roots so that they could maintain their freshness. After camping out in the wild for a night, the atmosphere was very good. When Gu Mengmeng was not around, Saint Nazaire was always in a tense state. The males with partners focused on protecting their own females, while the single males risked their lives to protect the tribe. Although they loved to fight, a long battle would also make them very tired. On such a bloodless night, everyone laughed and chatted around the messenger of the beast deity, doing something that was not difficult but required unity. This level of physical labor was not enough to make the males feel tired, but this was the first time in their lives digging lotus roots, and they often ended up covered in mud. Occasionally, they would even get hit in the head by the lotus roots. Although they did not suffer any injuries, they still ended up chasing each other around. In the tranquil night, everyone discussed the interesting things that happened during the day as waves of laughter rippled out. In such an atmosphere, Gu Meng Meng had a dreamless night and slept exceptionally soundly. The next morning, Gu Meng Meng woke up on her designated seat and greeted with a hoarse voice, "Good morning." Elvis and Leah stood on her left and right, protecting her in the middle, ensuring that the cool night breeze would not blow at her. Their furry tails lightly covered her eyes, ensuring that the sunlight would not dazzle her eyes. Hearing her soft, "Good morning," the two large tails released each side and two red lips landed on Gu Mingming's cheeks at the same time. "Good morning. Good morning." On one side was a subwoofer while on the other was a cello. Two different sounds played together, creating the first good mood for Gu Meng Meng every morning. After getting up and packing up, the males had already tied up the lotus roots with the tree vines they had plucked overnight and carried them on their backs. Gu Meng Meng naturally did not have to carry them herself. Wabi walked up to Gu Meng Meng and looked down at her condescendingly. "I am leaving." Gu Meng Meng smiled and nodded. "Yeah, see you next year." Without saying anything more, Wabi turned and swam towards the Snake King Valley. On the other hand, Gu Meng Meng just patted her own face and snuggled into Elvis's arms. After giving the order, they headed back to St. Nazaire on the path they came from. "You said it's to dig up lotus roots, but it's actually to give Wabi, right?" Leo wagged his large tail and looked at Gu Meng Meng slyly. Chapter 1097. After returning to St. Nazaire, Gu Meng Meng distributed the lotus roots equally to the females and omnivorous orcs in the tribe. Gu Mingming's house had 2 portions for herself and Leah. Although it was not a lot, it was at least one more side dish compared to last year and the year before. Otherwise, Gu Meng Meng would really go crazy if she had to eat potatoes, meat and sweet potato paste every day. Elvis did not spend much time at home recently. He would leave very early every day and return very late. He had been busy hunting and storing food. He could not do much in terms of vegetables, but at least he had to try his best to satisfy Gu Mingming's needs in terms of meat. So not only did he demand quantity and quality, he also had an almost perverted obsession with the type of meat. It was as if he was collecting stamps and could not wait to hunt all kinds of stamps for Gu Meng Meng. Leah stayed at home to accompany Gu Meng Meng as he pickled the prey Elvis brought back. By right, this should be Lee's favorite job, but now, Gu Meng Meng supported her cheeks with both hands and tilted her head to look at Leah, who was rubbing the rouge and meat. She would poke Lee's chest with her fingers every now and then and chuckle. "Meng Meng," Leah called out to her helplessly. Gu Meng Meng smiled, her bright eyes reflecting the sunlight. She looked at Leah and said, "How long is the gestation period of a fox? If we work harder this winter, will we be able to have a nest of little foxes by the time winter ends tomorrow?" It was the topic of childbirth again. As Elvis already had 4 sons, Gu Meng Meng had never pestered him to talk about these things. From a certain point of view, it could be said that she had escaped a calamity. Leah had originally thought that she would forget about this matter after a few days, but in the end, once they were alone, Gu Meng Meng would pester him and talk about little fox non-stop. He didn't dare to tell her that he didn't want to give birth because she would look at him with tears in her eyes and ask him if he didn't love her, so he didn't want her to give birth to little foxes. Only God knew how much he wanted a nest of children of their own, but she had forgotten the torture she had suffered during her last labor, but he still remembered it clearly. That day, his whole body was trembling. His heart felt as if it was tied into a dead knot by thorns. Every breath he took made his heart ache. At that time, she was not his partner yet, but his heart had already ached to this extent. Now, he couldn't bear to see her suffer in the slightest. If only giving birth was something that a male could do for her, then he would definitely fulfill her desire to have a nest of little foxes even at the cost of his life. However, he couldn't feel the pain for her. "Hey, Leah, are you really not going to touch me for the rest of your life?" Gu Mengmeng leaned forward and placed her little hand on Li's shoulder. She laid her entire body on Li's back and whispered into his ear, "During winter, the entire cave is sealed off by the heavy snow and the entire cave is sealed. Once I think about that, the fox seductive fragrance will fill the entire cave, and it won't dissipate. Are you sure you can endure it?" "I'm not sure." Leah gritted his teeth in anger. Did he still need the fox seductive fragrance? Now that she was sticking to him like this, it was enough to fill his chest with fire. He wanted nothing more than to immediately push her down and ruthlessly bully her. Chapter 1098. Leah put down the salt and bacon in his hands and switched between his beast and human form, so that he was clean and spotless. Standing up, he hugged Gu Mengmeng in his arms, wrapping his left arm around her waist to encircle her tightly in his embrace. His right hand pinched her chin, adjusting the angle of her line of sight, so that her eyes could meet his. Leo looked at Gu Mengmeng seriously and affectionately. "Mengmeng, I am a witch doctor and I can say that there is no one in the beast world with better medical skills than me. But even so, when you were giving birth to Kanwu, I could only pray helplessly to the beast deity, begging him to let you be safe. The helplessness of watching you hover on the line between life and death while I can't do anything will really drive me crazy." But Gu Mengmeng wanted to say that it was her first time giving birth to Hede and his brothers, so it was inevitable that it would be more difficult. Moreover, she now had Snake's powers to protect her, so she would definitely be fine. But Leah did not give her a chance to speak. All the words after her, but were stuck in her throat and crushed into lingering whimpers with the tip of his tongue. It was only until Gu Mengmeng was lying limply in Li's arms and her nostrils were already filled with the faint fox seductive fragrance did Leah finally stop the kiss. His long and narrow eyes were deep and misty, filled with infinite forbearance and helplessness. He said, "When you were injured in the Snake King Valley, the most fortunate thing for me was that I was a witch doctor and could save you. But I hope that my medical skills will never be used on you. Mengmeng, I said before, if you are hurt in the slightest, it would be destroying my heart." These words are not just empty words. When a female gives birth, there is a slim chance of survival. Even if you have Snake's powers to protect you, the pain is still there. The scene of you giving birth to Kanwo is still my and Elvis's nightmare. If I were to experience the scene of you being in so much pain yet being unable to do anything about it. Mengmeng, I can tell you in advance that I might not be able to endure the pain in my heart and cut open my own chest to crush my own heart with my own hands. Even so, if you still want to give birth to a nest of little foxes, I will give them to you." Gu Mengmeng stopped fooling around and looked at Leah with a pitiful expression. She pouted her lips and muttered, "If you don't want to give birth, then don't. Why did you have to make it sound so scary?" Leah heaved a sigh of relief. "Promise me, you're not allowed to mention giving birth to little foxes in the future." "Fine, I won't mention it." "Humph." With that, Gu Mengmeng turned around and walked into the cave in a huff, ignoring Leah. This was the first time Leah allowed her to throw a tantrum without going in to comfort her. He couldn't back down on this matter. He clearly knew what she would experience during childbirth, so how could he bear to do it? Sighing helplessly, Leah squatted back beside the pile of salt to continue marinating the meat. He turned around to look at the entrance of the cave. There was no movement at all. "He must be really angry. If only you were like Oriton, then I could make a lot of delicious food to coax you." Leah smiled helplessly. Then, he secretly remembered to remind Elvis that other than beasts on land, Mengmeng also liked fish in the water and bird eggs in the trees. He must remember to bring some back next time. Gu Mengmeng threw a tantrum for 2 to 3 days. Elvis and Leah became very careful at home. In the end, Elvis couldn't stand Gu Mingming's gloominess and suggested a solution. Aside from the topic, yeah, today's update is over. Remember to help Susu light up the 5 stars when my babies leave comments. Thank you, baby. Chapter 1099. Xiao Meng. Elvis placed Gu Mengmeng on his thighs and held her shoulders with both hands. He accommodated her height and looked into her eyes, saying, I know you have been in a bad mood these few days, but not letting you suffer is the bottom line that Leah and I will never give in to. So, do you want to take a nap and meet the beast deity? See if he has a little cheat, similar to the kiss of the beast deity that can save you from the pain of childbirth. If he does, let you give birth. But if even the beast deity has no solution, then don't mention this matter again, and don't be in a bad mood because of this matter, alright? Gu Mengmeng smacked her head. Ah, why didn't I think of that? With that, she peeked at Leah, waiting for him to express his stance. Leah always had his ways with Gu Mengmeng. Regardless of whether she cried or threw a tantrum, he would always have a way to coax her. Only this time, she did not cry or make a fuss. She was even more cruel and sinister than the time when she chased him and Elvis out of the cave in the stray beast camp. This absolute cold-blooded violence was really driving him crazy. These few days, he had almost given in and said, give birth, give birth. If worse comes to worst, I will dig my heart out and commit suicide. Yes. Now that she had finally relented, he instantly felt as if spring had returned to the land. Sitting beside Elvis, he held Gu Mingming's little hand and kissed it, saying, you have to promise me, if the beast deity has no other choice, you can't throw a tantrum over this again. Gu Mengmeng nodded. Then, she smiled for the first time in these few days. Turning around, Gu Mengmeng lay on the side of the bed. Then, she slowly closed her eyes, but the corners of her lips were still curled up. Layers of white fog blew towards them. When Gu Mengmeng saw the beast deity standing in the clouds, she could not help but smile guiltily. The previous time she came, she said that she wanted to be a filial daughter and come back to watch television with him when she was free. But after the incident with Oakley, she suddenly had a deep understanding of parting. She desperately wanted to cherish the person in front of her, hence, he completely forgot about his promise to the beast deity. As the saying goes, a guilty person smiles first. Gu Mengmeng smiled like a sunflower and pounced into the beast deity's arms. She said in a sweet Hong Kong accent, Papa, I missed you so much. The beast deity was a highly skilled person after all. He did not even laugh at Gu Mingming's fawning. He maintained his usual kind and amiable demeanor as he gently patted Gu Mingming's little head. Yeah, a married daughter is like spilled water. Although I was already mentally prepared, I was still looking forward to it when you said you would come back to accompany me more often. Ah. Gu Mengmeng felt an arrow piercing her heart. She looked pitifully at the beast deity and blinked her eyes. The words, please forgive me, were clearly written on her face. The beast deity held Gu Mingming's hand and walked towards the 2-seater wooden chair as he said, It's all right, little magpie, you have a long tail. Once you have a wife, you will forget your mother. Chapter 1100. Why did he sound like he was angry? Gu Mengmeng wrapped her arms around the beast deity's arm and said coquettishly, Father, I know I was wrong. Don't be angry, don't be angry. The beast deity heaved a long sigh of relief before pulling Gu Mingming's hand to sit on the long bench. All right, you heartless little thing. I have already scolded you and my anger has subsided. Since you are back, accompany me to watch television. We can talk about pocket money after that. All right. Gu Mengmeng obediently held onto the beast deity's arm as they sat side by side on the 2-seater wooden bench. Her furry little head rested on the beast deity's arm. Perhaps it was because they had known each other for a long time, or because she kept calling him father, but if one ignored the beast deity's overly young appearance, the two of them really did look like father and daughter. The beast deity waved his hand and a large part of the white fog dissipated. The image showed Monster Company's internal employee forum. There was a post titled, "CEO's wife arrogantly declared her sovereignty while the CEO turned into a wife-protecting maniac and accompanied her the entire time. P.S. There are pictures to prove the truth." The post was pushed to the top by many replies within a few minutes, then, it was deleted. Following that was an announcement from the CEO's office. The reason for deleting the post was that the surveillance footage provided by the post was not clear enough and did not perfectly display CEO's wife's beauty and intelligence. After being magnified 20 times, there was a mosaic on her facial features. Different angles of the screenshots also showed that her eyelashes were deformed. Regarding this, the CEO was furious. The solution was as follows: 1. The entire company's surveillance cameras had to be upgraded immediately. The quality of the images had to be the best in the world. The screenshots had to be projected directly onto the LED screens of the company's building so that every pore could be clearly seen. 2. Monster Company reserves the right to pursue the infringement of image of the CEO's wife for violating the rights to her portrait. 3. All employees immediately went to the latest highlight post to confirm and remember the CEO's wife's appearance. If any employee in Monster Company could not recognize the CEO's wife under any circumstances, it would mean that the employee lacked the most basic loyalty to Monster Company and would be fired. Following that, a new post was pinned by the officials. It was bolded, highlighted, and highlighted. The striking red font was unique in the corporate forum. The title of the post was, "The CEO's wife made a high-profile and domineering tour to declare her sovereignty. The CEO turned into a wife-protecting maniac and accompanied her the whole time. P.S. There are pictures and the truth." 2. HD version. The original content in the post was not changed at all. It was just that the photos had been replaced with the high-definition version that the technical department had just revised. The images in the monitor were carefully selected frame by frame by the employees of the technical department and the corporate public relations department. The CEO only had one request, that was, no matter what the CEO looked like in the images, as long as the CEO's wife looked good, it was fine. This post was like a torpedo thrown into the corporate forum, blowing up the warehouse manager Old Wang, who had been lurking in the shadows for many years. Chapter 1101. Yeah, everyone in Monster Company knew that the CEO was delighted today, except for the female lead who was focused on peeling an apple in the CEO's office, Gu Mengmeng. After peeling the apple, Gu Mengmeng cut the apple into 4 pieces and removed the gap in the middle. She brought it to Snake and asked, "Do you want to eat it?" Snake closed the computer gently, then looked at Gu Mengmeng with a chuckle and said, "You eat it." Oh. Gu Mengmeng thought that Snake did not want to eat it and thought that most guys did not like to eat fruits. Hence, she did not stand on ceremony and took a bite. The juices flowed everywhere and the sweetness of the fruit filled her mouth. Gu Mingming's eyes instantly curved and she smiled in satisfaction. Snake held on to Gu Mingming's little hand and sent the half of the apple into his mouth. Then, he nodded and said, "Yeah, it's really delicious." Gu Mengmeng blushed and said, "Didn't you not eat it?" Snake raised his brows and asked, "When did I say I'm not eating it?" Gu Mengmeng was speechless and handed one of the remaining 3 pieces of apple to Snake. But Snake shook his head and said, "I don't like eating apples." "Then just now the food you ate is an exception." Snake chuckled and then pulled open a drawer under the boss's desk. He took out a sapphire blue box from it. With one hand, he pulled Gu Mengmeng into his arms. His long arms wrapped around Gu Mingming's waist and he opened the box with his slender fingers. Inside was an exquisite collarbone necklace. The two letters MS were designed to look like electrocardiograms. The bottom left corner of M and the top right corner of S were respectively circled into small hearts and connected to the necklace. Snake's chin rested on Gu Mingming's shoulder. He tilted his head and his lips lightly brushed against Gu Mingming's cheek, creating an ambiguous atmosphere. "Do you like it?" Gu Mingming pursed her lips and said, "For me." Snake chuckled and said, "Other than you, who else's name is worthy to be linked with mine?" So, M was the first letter of Meng in Gu Mingming's name, whilst was the first letter of Snake's name. Gu Mingming's heart was filled with sweetness. She glanced sideways and asked, "When did you prepare?" When Gu Mingming turned her face, her lips met Snake's. Although it was just a light brush, Gu Mingming still felt her face heating up. She instinctively shrank back and looked elsewhere, not daring to look at Snake. Snake did not force her, but the smile on his lips deepened. "Shall I help you put it on?" Gu Mingming nodded and lifted her hair. Snake gently helped her put on the necklace properly. Then, he gently caressed the necklace with his fingers and said with a deep gaze, "Remember, don't take it off. This necklace is a sign that you belong to me." Gu Mingming was originally quite touched, but why did she suddenly feel that the pink bubble had burst? A symbol that belonged to him. Was it similar to a dog's collar? "You don't like it?" Snake asked. Gu Mingming pursed her lips and said, "It's not that I don't like it, it's just that other people give couples rings or something. Why did you give a necklace?" Chapter 1102. Before he finished his sentence, Snake had already pulled open the drawer where he took out the necklace. He took out a red velvet box and opened it to reveal a pair of snake-shaped rings. The male and female rings were placed side by side. They were two intertwined snakes, with a diamond in the middle. It was not a particularly extravagant size, but it was dazzling and eye-catching. Even a fool would know that it was worth a lot. When the two rings were separated, the diamond was embedded in the female ring. It was obviously an extra piece, but it didn't stand out. Just looking at the shape of the female ring, it looked like a snake was coiling around the diamond to protect it. It was very special and exquisite. On the other hand, the male ring was missing a piece. It looked like an incomplete snake, giving off a sense of fragility. This. Gu Mingming looked at the rings in confusion. She did not understand why the rings Snake had prepared were in the shape of a snake. Snake caressed the diamond on the ring gently. "Do you know? To a snake, the heart is not its weakness, but its gallbladder is. The place where this diamond is located is where the gallbladder of the male snake is." He gave his gallbladder to the female to protect, which means that in the eyes of the male snake, the female is more important than his own life. When the two rings are together, they are a lingering pair. If they are separated, the male snake will be incomplete, a snake without gallbladder will die. Snake held Gu Mingming's little hand and kissed it. "If you stay by my side, I will be happy. If you leave me, I will die. When I put this ring on for you, it means that I am entrusting my life to you. And I have already prepared the rings. What about you? Are you ready to wear them?" For some reason, when Gu Mingming heard the words "a snake without gallbladder will die," she felt as if her heart was stung by a bee. The slight pain made her frown. Closing the lid of the ring box, Gu Mingming shook her head. "We just confirmed our relationship. It's too fast." Snake did not force her. After all, she had not reached the legal age for marriage. Moreover, regardless of whether she had the certificate, he would not allow anyone else to snatch her away. So this pair of rings had to be worn on her fingers sooner or later. He would not tell Gu Mingming what had happened in the beast world. He had designed this pair of rings just to let her know that no matter how many times he had to go back, he would still be willing to cut open his chest for her. Whether it was in the beast world or here, she was more important than his life. I'll only borrow your life once. This journey will be the rest of my life. Snake gently kissed the side of Gu Mingming's face, saying gently but without any resistance, Tu Meng, we still have a long time to be together, so take it slow, I'm not in a hurry. However, you must know one thing. You promised to be with me, and I won't allow you to go back on your word. As long as you don't leave me, I can do whatever you want. Gu Mengmeng smiled. Promise me anything. Yes. Snake nodded. Gu Mengmeng smiled and said, then, let's raise a dog, alright. Gu Mengmeng had a thing for furry animals, but due to financial reasons, she had never kept any small animals. In the past, she had fantasized about raising a pet with her boyfriend one day. That must be a wonderful thing. However, Snake raised his brows and his eyes darkened. Chapter 1103. Sniggering, Snake asked, what kind of dog do you want? Gu Mengmeng thought for a while and said, something like a golden retriever or a Samoyed that is obedient and good-looking. It would be very eye-catching if you bring it out for a walk. Snake held onto Gu Mingming's waist and made her stand up to face him. He looked up and smiled, I have a better suggestion. Gu Mengmeng was curious. Snake pulled out his tie and stuffed it into Gu Mingming's hands. Then, he stood up and placed both his hands on the office table beside Gu Mengmeng. He tilted his upper body and hugged Gu Mengmeng to his chest. His thin lips pressed against her ear and he said, I will be your dog and listen to you. I will let you look at me however you want. Gu Mingming's face turned red and she instinctively tightened her grip on Snake's tie. Snake took the opportunity and pounced on Gu Mengmeng, pressing her onto the office table. The smile at the corner of his lips spread to the bottom of his eyes. Snake said in a teasing tone, moreover, walking me will definitely be more eye-catching than walking a golden retriever or Samoyed. What do you think? Girlfriend. You get up first. This position was so intimate that Gu Mengmeng felt like she could not breathe. But Snake pursed his lips and seemed to be thinking about something. After thinking for a while, he said, if you want a pet to be obedient, you have to give some reward, right? What reward? Gu Mengmeng whispered. Snake kissed Gu Mingming's lips lightly and said, stroke my head and say, my snake is so obedient. Gu Mengmeng blushed and felt as if she was being kissed by Snake's cuteness. She raised her hand and touched Snake's head gently. She said softly, My snake is so obedient. Snake gave Gu Mengmeng another peck on the lips in satisfaction before straightening his body. Snake's lips were still curled upwards. He had always been envious of Leah being stroked by Gu Mengmeng in her arms. Now that he had experienced it, it felt really good. It was no wonder that the fox did not mind others calling him a beast pet. If being a pet could receive such tenderness from her, then there was no difference between being a dog and being a snake to Snake. Knock, knock, knock. The sound of knocking came from the door. Gu Mengmeng hurriedly stood up and adjusted Snake's suit and tie. Due to the pressure just now, there were some slight creases on Snake's suit, which Gu Mengmeng could not smooth even after stroking it a few times. But Snake did not mind at all and directly said, come in. Gu Mengmeng instinctively took a step back, but Snake hugged her waist. He lowered his head to look into her eyes and said, continue tidying, don't push me away. The Secretary General, who came in to report, was forcefully stuffed with a handful of dog food. Fortunately, he was calm and collected. He was stunned for 2 seconds before he adjusted his state of mind and said, President, there will be a meeting in 5 minutes. The senior executives are already waiting for you in the conference room. Snake did not say a word. He just raised his hand and made a get out gesture with 2 fingers, meaning that he understood. The secretary was already used to Snake's simple and crude way of handling things, so he bowed respectfully and said, "CEO, madam, I will leave first. If you need anything, please call me anytime." Chapter 1104. Tu Meng, come here. Snake held Gu Mingming's hand and walked into the resting room in the office. Then, he pulled open the wardrobe door and said, "Choose one, I will change." Gu Mengmeng knew that it was Snake's working hours now. As a CEO, he had to dress appropriately. His nobility meant that he would not wear a wrinkled suit to attend important meetings. "Don't hug me in the office next time." Gu Mengmeng mumbled softly. Snake hugged her from behind and asked softly, "Why?" Gu Mengmeng replied, "It's too troublesome to change clothes after a hug." "I don't find it troublesome." Snake chuckled. He knew that his Tu Meng had misunderstood, but he did not want to explain. Because in a while, she would know why he wanted to change his clothes. Gu Mingming's lips curved upwards at Snake's words. It was a beautiful smile. Taking out a dark coffee-colored suit, Gu Mengmeng placed it on Snake's body and measured it. Gu Mingming's eyes widened in shock. It was a 4-piece business suit. It was the kind of suit that only the top talents who walked out of elite magazines would wear. The word Meng was clearly embroidered on the left chest area. It was not an M, but the Chinese word Meng. Gu Mengmeng blinked at Snake and said, "This." Snake chuckled and kissed her shocked eyes. Then, he said, "I prepared it long ago. It's just that I have the right to wear it now. I wanted to tattoo it on my chest, but this body belongs to you. I did not dare to use it without your consent. I could only settle for the next best thing. I embroidered your name on every piece of my clothes to announce to the world that I am yours." He gave her a necklace and said that it was proof that she belonged to him. She felt a little awkward and felt that it was a leash used to tie a dog. But he treated himself to the extreme. He blocked all the possibilities of other people having wild thoughts about him without any blind spots. He really gave up an entire forest for her, a small tree. And it was the size of the Amazon rainforest. Gu Mengmeng pounced into Snake's arms and hugged him tightly. She said, "You are really the best boyfriend in the world." Snake chuckled and hugged Gu Mengmeng back. With her in his arms, his life seemed to be full. This feeling was really blissful. Moreover, his body was warm now. Even if he hugged her like this, he didn't have to worry about her feeling uncomfortable from the cold. Yes, and he will be the best husband in the world in the future. Gu Mengmeng blushed and instinctively glanced in the direction of Snake's desk. Snake cupped Gu Mingming's little face with both hands and kissed her. "All right, I'm going to the meeting. Wait for me here." Gu Mengmeng nodded. Then, Snake walked out of the resting room wearing the suit with the word Meng embroidered on the left chest and went straight to the meeting room. After Snake left, the air in the office gradually cooled down and Gu Mengmeng was finally able to breathe properly. Slumping on the sofa, Gu Mengmeng gently touched the necklace around her neck. The necklace that reflected the sunlight and emitted a dazzling glow became warm because of her body temperature. Chapter 1105. Just as Gu Mengmeng was about to leave, her phone suddenly vibrated. Looking down, she saw the name displayed on the screen as 743. Page 7, paragraph 4, line 3, hello. Gu Mengmeng was a little confused. Wasn't he in a meeting? Why was he calling her? "There's a document on my table, bring it to the meeting room for me." Oh. Gu Mengmeng stood up and walked to the office table. She saw 2 documents clamped in a blue folder and asked, "There are 2 here, which one do you want?" "Anything. Anything." Gu Mengmeng frowned in confusion. Snakel immediately added, "It's all the same, just take any set over, hurry up." Oh. Gu Mengmeng did not suspect anything and just took one out of the office. The meeting room was one floor below. Gu Mengmeng took the elevator specially used by the CEO down, and there was already someone waiting at the elevator entrance. The moment the elevator doors opened, he bowed respectfully and greeted, "Madam." Gu Mengmeng was shocked, and before she could explain, she saw that person gesturing for her to follow, before hurriedly leading the way. Gu Mengmeng had no choice but to follow. At the entrance of the meeting room, the welcoming person pushed open the soundproof glass door and invited Gu Mengmeng in. "Thank you." Gu Mengmeng was still not used to being treated like this. Actually, she had her own hands and could open the door herself. "Tu Meng, come here." Snake stretched out his hand, palm facing upwards. Gu Mengmeng thought that he was in a hurry for the document, so she ran around the meeting table and handed the document to him. In the end, Snake did not even look at it and just casually threw the document to one side. He then grabbed Gu Mengmeng's arm and pulled forcefully, causing Gu Mengmeng to fall into Snake's arms. Snake then heaved a sigh of relief and said, "Indeed, I can only feel at ease when I hug you in my arms. I missed you so much after not seeing you for 5 minutes." With that, Snake buried his head into Gu Mengmeng's neck and rubbed against her, greedily inhaling her scent. "Stop fooling around. Everyone is watching." Gu Mengmeng struggled to get up, but Snake did not want to let go at all. He raised his head from Gu Mengmeng's neck and glanced coldly at the higher-ups sitting around the meeting table. Then, everyone lowered their noble heads in unison. Above everyone's heads was the special effect of, "You can't see me, you can't see me. No one is watching. Let me hold you for a while." Snake was very satisfied that even the manager he hired knew how to read people's expressions. He had no choice, his Tu Meng was too shy. Seeing that Gu Mengmeng was still struggling, Snake whispered into her ear, "Be good and let me hug you, or we can do something else here." Gu Mengmeng's face was burning red and she did not dare to act rashly. But it was really inappropriate to be hugged like that during a meeting. It felt like King Zhou of Shang was still hugging Daji when he was attending court. "Don't be like this. People will say that I'm a femme fatale." Snake chuckled and pecked Gu Mengmeng's lips lightly. He said, "Silly girl, my kingdom is more than enough to support a femme fatale like you." Gu Mengmeng was tickled by Snake. And when Gu Mengmeng smiled, Snake's lips curled up too. Then, the entire meeting room brightened up. "Continue." With Snake's order, the meeting could finally continue. Chapter 1106. At 11:50 in the afternoon, Snake closed his laptop. Everyone in the meeting room stood up in unison and bowed to Snake before filing out of the room, closing the door behind them on their way out. Asking for documents was an act. Gu Mengmeng finally asked. Snake tapped Gu Mengmeng's little nose lightly and said, "So smart." Gu Mengmeng felt a sweetness in her heart as she lowered her head and chuckled, "No wonder you said it's all the same. So it's because you don't need it, so you can take anyone." Snake hugged Gu Mengmeng and kissed her, asking, "Did I scare you?" Gu Mengmeng shook her head and said, "I don't really understand what you guys are talking about, but I don't find it boring either." Because Snake was really too handsome. As they had to use the projector, the meeting room was in a semi-dark state. Gu Mengmeng sat in Snake's arms and used the light from the projector to look at his face that flickered between light and dark. That focus gaze was sharp and precise, like a snake that had locked onto its target in the dark. He was calm and at ease, exuding the unique confidence and aura of a superior, making others unable to help but admire him. And such an outstanding man was her boyfriend. Just thinking about it made Gu Mengmeng's little heart throb uncontrollably. How could she have the time to be bored? And Snake naturally did not ignore Gu Mingming's admiring gaze, or else he would not have allowed the meeting to continue until now. After all, he had opened the company to please her, not to make her suffer. Yeah, it seemed like the information in her memory was not all wrong. At least what she had said before, a man who works hard is the most attractive, was true. Lunch was takeaway ordered by the Secretary General. After a simple meal, another round of meetings started. Snake had to use a weekend to settle a week's worth of work, so the workload was very heavy. When they were about to leave at night, they realized that it had already started to rain. Snake drove from Monsieur Company's underground car park to the villa's underground car park. They did not need to use an umbrella and reached home safely. After entering, Snake held Gu Mingming's hand and sent her to the door of the room. With one arm around her waist and the other against the door, he leaned over and kissed her forehead, saying, "You must be exhausted today, right? Quickly go and rest." Gu Mingming nodded. Just as she was about to leave, she realized that Snake did not let go at all. Her entire body was encircled by his chest. How could she leave? Upon receiving Gu Mingming's questioning gaze, Snake pursed his lips and said, "I can't bear to let go. Why don't you invite me in for a cup of tea?" Gu Mingming chuckled. "How can I have tea in my room? You've been hugging me all day. Haven't you had enough? Let go of me." Snake took a deep breath and hugged Gu Mingming tightly. "Yeah, I'm used to hugging you for a day." As soon as I let go, I felt an emptiness in my arms. I felt uncomfortable. Gu Mingming pushed Snake's chest lightly. After hesitating for a moment, she took the initiative to kiss Snake's face and said, "All right, good night." With that, she ducked out from under Snake's arm, opened the door, returned to the room and closed the door. Sliding onto the floor against the door, Gu Mingming was still holding onto her heart that was beating out of rhythm, smiling secretly with a blushing face. Crack. Chapter 1107. Snake chuckled and his lips curled into a confident smile. He then knocked on the door and said, "Tu Meng, there's thunder, I'm scared." Gu Mingming couldn't help but laugh out loud at the door. She didn't open the door and just sat at the door and said, "You're a domineering CEO and you're scared of thunder. I'm someone who went to primary school, don't lie to me." Snake squatted down outside the door and accurately placed his hand on the back of Gu Mingming's head through the door. He chuckled and said, "I'm your dog. Don't you feel heartache letting your pet face the thunder and lightning alone on a stormy night?" Pfft, she still remembered this. "Tu Meng, did I tell you before? I have a spare key to every room." Gu Mingming was stunned and turned to look at Snake through the door. It was as if Snake could feel her gaze through the door. He smiled and said, "Open the door yourself and accompany me as your pet. Or I'll use the spare key to open the door and accompany you as my girlfriend." You know the difference between the two. Understood instantly, damn it. Gu Mingming was once again amazed at how she knew so much. Click. Gu Mingming gently turned the door handle and moved it a little. The door was opened a little, but it was enough to light up Snake's entire world. He pushed the door open and without another word, he pounced on Gu Mingming and kissed her carelessly. He said, "You actually locked your own dog outside the door. Heartless master, do you think I should bite you?" Don't, our Snake is the most obedient. Don't bite me." Gu Mingming admitted defeat. She could never get tired of hearing the term "our Snake." His mood was great, but Snake wanted to bite her even more. After pondering for a while, he bit her little chin lightly and then hugged her in his arms. He said, "I'll let you off this time. Next time you lock me outside the door, I'll let you know how powerful your dog's teeth are." Not locking him outside the door, did that mean he could come in and stay as he pleased? Gu Mingming shook her head and said, "That I can't Snake pinched her little face and said, I especially don't like the way you shake your head at me. But, I just want a hug, nothing else. Snake said, but, if you reject me again, I might not be able to control myself and have you first. Then, tomorrow, I will tie you up and bring you to Europe to get your marriage certificate. Well, you don't have to wait until you're 20 to get a license in Europe. You promise. Gu Mengmeng knew Snake's capabilities well. He would definitely do what he said. Snake nodded and said cautiously, yes, I promise. Gu Mengmeng knew that there was no use in resisting, it would only make the outcome worse for her. Moreover, Snake had already promised and she believed that Snake would not go back on his words. So he nodded and said, then get up first, I'm going to wash up. Together. Snake flipped over and stood up before pulling Gu Mengmeng into his arms. Like Siamese twins, they entered the washroom to wash their pants together before returning to the bed to lie down. Before he switched off the lights, he planted a kiss on Gu Mengmeng's forehead and said affectionately, good night. Drawing a perfect end to this beautiful day. To snakes, rainy days always made them feel happy. The fog gathered again and Gu Mengmeng looked at the screen disappearing behind the white fog. She laughed bitterly and said, Snake is really, as domineering as usual. Aside from the topic, are you satisfied with the special Snake special that my babies have been waiting for? Chapter 1108. The Beast Deity chuckled. Say, do you think there will be a mosaic in the next episode? Gu Mengmeng rolled her eyes at the Beast Deity. Is there any father who would discuss such content with his own daughter? The Beast Deity thought for a moment. That's true. For the sake of my daughter's mental and physical development, if there is really any inharmonious content, I will cut it off and not broadcast it. Gu Mengmeng held her forehead in exasperation. The Beast Deity pinched Gu Mengmeng's little face. All right, the drama is over. Tell me, why did you come to find me? Gu Mengmeng pursed her lips. She was a little shy. But she still told the Beast Deity about what Leah and Elvis were worried about. The Beast Deity chuckled. How can giving birth be painless? But you have Snake's power to protect you. You won't die. What are you afraid of? Don't be a coward. Just give birth. Gu Mengmeng sighed with a bitter expression. That's what I said too. But Elvis and Leah don't agree, then don't give birth. The Beast Deity said. Gu Mengmeng stared at the Beast Deity coldly. Father, can't you be more resolute? The Beast Deity shrugged. The Beast Father doesn't even want to keep the child. Why do you still insist on giving birth to his child? Gu Mengmeng lowered her head. I already owe the two of them in terms of relationships. I hope to make it up to them in other aspects. Elvis already has a nest of wolf cubs. If I don't give birth to a nest of fox cubs for Leah. The Beast Deity chuckled. He shook his head in exasperation. Other males try their best to coax their females to give birth to their cubs. Why is it the other way around for you? Gu Mengmeng was not annoyed by her father's mockery. She shook the Beast Deity's arm. Is there a way? Father, the Beast Deity sighed. There is a way. But you have to find it yourself. Ha! Gu Mengmeng looked at the Beast Deity in confusion. The Beast Deity said calmly, love of the sky. Gu Mengmeng was taken aback. Her eyes dimmed. One of the 7 treasures? The Beast Deity nodded. The kiss of the ocean is tolerance. Soul of the forest is life. Gu Mengmeng continued the Beast Deity's words and said softly, light, means to dispel all darkness, including all pain, right? This concept was what Wang Xiaoxin had told Snake's father in his memory. The beast god nodded and said, yes, if you could wear the love of the sky during labor, it wouldn't be so painful. Gu Meng Meng was a little dejected. She lowered her head and fiddled with her fingers. I don't want to gather all those things, Tisk. The beast deity placed his hand gently on Gu Mingming's shoulder and said, even if they are all gathered, the final authority is still in your hands, understand? Gu Mengmeng nodded and said, I understand, let me think about it carefully. The beast deity did not say a word. He could provide help to Gu Mengmeng, but he could not dictate her decisions. After all, with his status, he could not interfere with the matters of the beast world. Gu Mengmeng took a deep breath and asked again, then about Wabiai. The beast deity continued shaking his head. Gu Mengmeng said, yeah, I understand. I still can't say. Alright, I won't ask anymore. I'll go back first. Chapter 1109. Whenever she woke up, she would always be faced with Elvis's concerned gaze. Gu Mengmeng remembered that Elvis had told her before that he would always feel uneasy whenever she went to see the beast deity. This kind of uneasiness was without reason, but Gu Mengmeng could not say that he was worrying for nothing. Sometimes, a man's sixth sense was very accurate. What's wrong? Elvis asked as he helped Gu Mengmeng up. Before he finished his sentence, the cup of water was already at Gu Mengmeng's lips. Gu Mengmeng drank a mouthful of water, then sat up straight. She looked at Elvis, pursed her lips and hesitated for a while, but still called Leah over. The three of them sat facing each other, before Gu Mengmeng said, I have to tell you something. Elvis asked softly. Gu Mengmeng took a deep breath and said, the beast deity told me that if I want to avoid the pain during childbirth, I just need to get the love of the sky. Li's smile obviously froze, his face full of disbelief. In order to not let Gu Mengmeng suffer, he had been trying his best to suppress his desire to have a child that belonged to him and her. Until now, he had accepted his fate and thought that he would never have a child of his own in this lifetime. But now, he had a chance. This huge surprise made him dumbfounded at the moment. After a long while, he reached out his trembling hands to hold on to Gu Mengmeng's shoulders and said carefully, Mengmeng, don't lie to me about this, you know I can't take it. Gu Mengmeng shook her head and said, I won't lie to you and Elvis. Even if you don't blame me, I won't lie to you. Li's arm tightened, locking Gu Mengmeng in his embrace. It was a strength that made Gu Mengmeng almost suffocate, as if he wanted to rub her into his chest. Gu Mengmeng could feel Leah trembling. She could clearly feel his agitation. How was it that he did not care about having a child? How was it that he had never been envious of others? He was so envious that he almost went crazy. He wanted it so much that he was almost possessed. But because he could not bear for her to bear the pain of childbirth, he personally extinguished all his expectations, not even allowing a single smoke to rise. He was too good to her. In order to be good to her, he could be cruel to anyone, including himself. I'll find the love of the sky. After that, we'll have a nest of little foxes. You like the little foxes so much, I'll give you as many as you want. I won't disobey you anymore. Finally, I can give you everything you want. Mengmeng, I've made you suffer these days because my attitude made you sad, right? Leah cupped Gu Mengmeng's little face and kissed it again and again, his heart aching for her. During this period of time, Gu Mengmeng had tried all sorts of ways to please him, coaxing and pestering him to give birth to a nest of little foxes. His heart ached when he saw her compromising look, but he could not bear to let her feel that pain once, so he kept rejecting her, avoiding her and even berating her. Every time he pushed her away, it was as painful as peeling off a layer of his own skin. But how could this kind of pain compare to the moment she frowned, which made him feel like a fishbone was stuck in his throat? Now, as long as he found the love of the sky, he would be able to love her as much as he wanted and would never have to push her away again. Mengmeng, why are you, unhappy. Lee's gaze landed on Gu Mingming's little face, which looked like she wanted to say something but stopped herself. She was clearly looking forward to having a nest of little foxes. Now that he had finally agreed, why did she look unhappy? Chapter 11:10. What's the matter? Leah held on to Gu Mingming's shoulders and asked. Gu Mengmeng took a deep breath and said, "The tear of the beast deity, kiss of the ocean, love of the sky, soul of the forest, heart of the desert, spirit of the rocky cliffs and key of the beast king are the 7 treasures of the beast world. These 7 treasures are the divine items of the beast world. With any one of them, you can activate the bloodline of the beast king and dominate the beast world. If you gather all 7, you can open the doors of time and space." Elvis and Leah froze. The moment the words doors of time and space came out, it was as if everything in this world had frozen. Elvis and Leah even forgot to breathe and just stared at Gu Mengmeng blankly. In the next moment, the blood in their bodies boiled like white smoke rolling in ice. It looked surging, but there was no warmth at all, it was bone-chilling. Elvis scooped Gu Mengmeng into his arms and hugged her tightly. He clenched his teeth and could not say a word. His blood-red eyes widened, and in that instant, his eyeballs were filled with red veins. It was frighteningly hideous. Lee's throat let out a low trembling cry. It was not anger or sadness, but the echo of an uncontrollable trembling under extreme fear. For words, Gu Mengmeng only used 4 words to scare the black and white duo that every tribe in the beast world feared so much that they felt chills all over their bodies and their souls left their bodies. "No more, we won't give birth." Lee's voice was full of determination and trembling. There was no hesitation at all. Nothing in this world could be compared to Gu Mengmeng, they did not even have the right to be compared. If he had to risk losing Gu Mengmeng to obtain something, he would rather destroy the world. He did not want anything but Gu Mengmeng. Gu Mengmeng sighed. She did not dare to say it all along because she was afraid that things would turn out like this. She thought that Elvis and Leah dared to let her enter the lake meant that they were not that afraid that she would leave. So, that person was already forcing himself to believe her. The words doors of time and space were still too serious for them. Hugging Elvis back gently, Gu Mengmeng said softly, "Don't panic, let me finish." His ears were ringing and his mind was filled with Gu Mengmeng's words, "You can open the doors of time and space," the way she cried and said she wanted to leave, the way she smiled and thanked him before lying in the middle of the lake, the way she curled up in a corner and said she did not belong here. All he could think of was the way she wanted to abandon him. Fear, every inch of Elvis's nerves was telling him that he was extremely afraid. Even though he was holding her like this, he still couldn't shake off the fear of losing her in the next second. Gu Mengmeng knew that their emotions were fluctuating too much. She had tried to communicate with them several times but to no avail. They were so shocked by this news that they could not listen to anything else she said. Elvis hugged her tightly, while Lee's eyes were fixed on her. He felt as if the knife would disappear if he blinked. Gu Mengmeng sighed and patted Elvis's back lightly, calling him over and over again, "Hubby, hubby, hugging Gu Mengmeng until her entire body was numb. Elvis finally heard her calling and squeezed out a dry sound from his throat. Chapter 11:11. I know. It was just 3 simple words, but it was as if Elvis's entire chest had been torn apart. He knew, all his rationality told him that Gu Mengmeng would not leave him. They also had such blissful days, Hedda and his brothers whom she cared about, Leah whom she liked, Sandy whom she cared about, but even though he knew, he still felt uneasy. Even though he was hugging her like this, he still felt that she could slip away from his fingers in the next second, just like a gust of wind, just like a handful of sand, just like the sunlight that could not be held back, just like the ocean waves that could not be held back. But I can't control myself, I'm still afraid. Gu Mengmeng held Elvis's face with both hands and kissed him deeply on the lips. Elvis was stunned at first, then he kissed her back crazily. If she wanted a kiss, he would give her the hottest kiss. He could satisfy all her needs, really. As long as she didn't leave, as long as she stayed, as long as she didn't abandon him, he could do anything, really. Really, Elvis's kiss was lingering, passionate and urgent. His uneasiness and desire were clearly conveyed to Gu Mengmeng through this kiss. Gu Mengmeng allowed him to entangle her tongue and only responded gently. She calmed his emotions slowly, softly, and gently. The kiss lasted for a long time until Elvis finally calmed down. This kiss was only left with deep love. Gu Mengmeng then slowly let go of Elvis. Panting heavily like a fish on shore, her face flushed from lack of oxygen was filled with tenderness. She chuckled. "Are you still afraid now?" Elvis hesitated for a moment, but still nodded. "I'm afraid." Gu Mengmeng had no choice but to reach out a hand to Leah. Without hesitation, Leah held her little hand tightly in his palm. Gu Mengmeng's other hand was holding Elvis's. Both of them protected her in their palms, feeling that soft touch. They didn't dare to use too much force, afraid of hurting her, but they also didn't dare to let go, afraid that she would disappear. Gu Mengmeng took the initiative to hold their hands. "Not only can you not leave me, I can't leave you too." "I won't leave, I won't." Elvis and Leah nodded with much difficulty. Leah said, "I always believe Mengmeng's words." No matter how uneasy he was, no matter how scared he was, as long as she said it, he would believe her. Elvis nodded and replied, "Xiao Meng, you can lie to me about anything but this. You must never go back on your word, understand?" Gu Mengmeng nodded. "Why don't I make an oath to the beast deity?" "No." Elvis and Leah replied in unison, "You are not allowed to swear recklessly." Gu Mengmeng chuckled. "All right, I won't swear. But you have to believe me before I can continue." Elvis hesitated for a moment, then looked up at Gu Mengmeng and said firmly, "Xiao Meng, I want you to promise me. If one day you decide to leave, take me with you, or kill me." "And me," Leah said softly. Gu Mengmeng nodded helplessly. "All right, if I want to leave, I will definitely bring the two of you along." They were never afraid of death, but losing her. With this promise, the two of them gradually calmed down. The worst outcome would be death, but before that, they would not lose her. Chapter 11-12. This could also be considered as good news. At least it eliminated the possibility of someone plotting against Gu Mengmeng to force her into that door. Gu Mengmeng continued, "Among the 7 treasures, I have the tear of the beast deity, Qi Xian has the soul of the forest and the kiss of the ocean. I don't know where the love of the sky, the heart of the desert and the spirit of the rocky cliffs are, but what I am really worried about is the key of the beast king." Leah frowned and said, "You mean, a child with the bloodline of the beast king?" Gu Mengmeng nodded and said, "Wang Xiaoxin wanted to use snake as the key of the beast king that year, so she found whales to mate with. Although the doors of time and space were not opened in the end, but Leah knew that there were some things that Gu Mengmeng could not say out loud, so he helped her to say, but the usage and activation methods of these 7 treasures have been passed down to the messenger's tribe, Sauter. The best proof is that Cole knew how to use the kiss of the ocean and the soul of the forest to save Qi Xian. So, you are worried that Cole will target your next child with the bloodline of the Beast King. You are afraid that what happened to Qi Xian will happen again, right?" Gu Mengmeng nodded, indicating that what Leah said was exactly what she was worried about. One Qi Xian had already exhausted her. If Cole did the same thing and abducted another child from her, she would really break down. She was really afraid that when she was about to stab Cole's chest with her sharp blade, the one standing in front of her would not be an enemy, but her child. The simplest way is for you to not have any more children. In the end, the topic returned to this. Lee's emotions were very strange. From the start, he had been trying his best to suppress his desire to have a nest of children with the same bloodline as her. Then, he completely destroyed this hope, and then rekindled it. But now, he actually started to hate those children who had yet to appear. As long as they never appeared in this world, did that mean that he would not have to bear the risk of losing Gu Mengmeng? Anyway, Qi Xian had already been snatched back, so they did not need to pay Cole any ransom, right? Gu Mengmeng sighed and said, Leah. Lee's lips were pressed into a straight line. He did not say anything else and just avoided Gu Mengmeng's gaze. He did not want to anger Gu Mengmeng at this moment, not even the slightest bit. Gu Mengmeng tightened her grip on Lee's hand. Originally, after snatching Qi Xian back, I had planned to give up on searching for the 7 treasures. But now, I have a new idea. Elvis and Leah frowned, their palms sweaty and their lips tightly pursed. Gu Mengmeng knew what they were worried about, but the more she did not explain herself, the more uneasy they would be. She might as well state her thoughts clearly, she believed that they would understand. Chapter 11-13. Gu Mengmeng paused for a while before continuing. There is only one set of the 7 treasures in this world. As long as both of you use one each, then no one will be able to gather all of them to open the doors of time and space. Gu Mengmeng's words made sense. The tear of the beast deity was in Gu Mengmeng's body. If Elvis and Leah used the heart of the desert and the spirit of the rocky cliffs to activate the Beast King bloodline, then anyone who wanted to open the doors of time and space could only choose to kill the 3 of them to obtain the 7 treasures. One Beast King could already look down on the entire beast world. When 3 Beast Kings gathered together, it would basically be the game mode of a pay-to-win warrior. They could ask arrogantly, who else? The iron triangle formed by Gu Mengmeng, Elvis and Leah was the most indestructible and stable relationship in the beast world. It was impossible to destroy them one by one. No matter which one of them was attacked, the other 2 would definitely come to their rescue immediately. So, it was simply a fool's dream to think of obtaining the 7 treasures from them. Once Gu Mengmeng voiced out her idea, Elvis and Leah immediately exchanged glances and their eyes lit up. That's right, their rationality had been blown away by the news of Gu Mengmeng will leave. They could not think of anything and fell into a huge whirlpool. But in a crisis, danger and opportunity coexisted. As long as they could snatch the remaining 3 treasures before Cole finished setting them up, they would have the upper hand and gain an absolute advantage. Even if they could only grab 2, it could be said to be an absolute advantage. Elvis circled his arms around Gu Mengmeng's waist and hugged her lightly. He kissed her forehead. Ever since I met you, I've started to be overcautious. I've even forgotten that taking the initiative is my style. Lee's thoughts were more meticulous and persistent. He brought Gu Mengmeng's little hand to his lips and kissed it. Leave this to me. Gu Mengmeng nodded and replied, yeah. For the past 2 years, Leah and Elvis had been keeping a low profile and only focused on Gu Mengmeng. They just wanted to live their simple lives in peace and had long forgotten their grand ambition of uniting the beast world for so many years. However, even if they did not cause trouble, trouble would never let them go. Blindly avoiding them didn't seem to be able to keep the peace. Since that was the case, why not make a big fuss? If their family of 3 became Beast Kings, they would like to see who would dare to play tricks in front of them. This night, Leah and Elvis could not sleep for the first time in a long time. Not worry, but excitement. The 7 treasures, which he had always rejected, suddenly became something that he had to obtain. They wanted to make Gu Mengmeng stay and ensure that no one in this world would dare to be presumptuous in front of her. Obtaining the 7 treasures seemed to be a way to settle things once and for all. The next day, after Gu Mengmeng woke up, Elvis and Leah decided to go out at the same time. Elvis continued to stock up on food for the winter while Leah made arrangements to search for the 7 treasures. At that moment, Gu Mengmeng was not used to being alone like this. In the past, one of them would always be by her side. The pot was filled with the meat that Leah had cooked and Gu Mengmeng scooped a bowl for herself. Gu Mengmeng was the only one at the six-seater table. I used to eat alone, so I didn't think there was any problem. Only now did he understand that solitude was also a luxury, because first, he had to experience being accompanied and cared for. Chapter 11-14. Mandy. Gu Mengmeng was rather surprised because the 16 valued females had a kind of adoration towards her that was similar to fans towards their idols. They liked her very much but did not dare to get close to her. Unless Gu Mengmeng took the initiative, they would always approach her, as if they were afraid of causing trouble for her. Mandy placed her hands behind her back and appeared rather uneasy. She took small steps towards Gu Mengmeng and said, "When the great witch doctor went to look for Ian in the morning, he said that I can come and play with you, play with a child." Gu Mengmeng chuckled and looked at Mandy like a child who had received candy, as if playing with her was a reward. Actually, her fox was just afraid that she would be bored at home alone, so he sent Mandy over to accompany her, right? Gu Mengmeng took a bowl and handed it to Mandy, asking, "Have you eaten breakfast?" Mandy shook her head, blushing slightly. "I was preparing to eat when the great witch doctor went over, but he said that he had prepared a lot of food for you in the morning and that I can come and eat with you. So, although our Ralph learned some cooking methods from great Leah, the taste is not that great. So..." Mandy instinctively swallowed her saliva. She looked at the big pot of fragrant stewed meat on the table in front of Gu Mengmeng, her eyes filled with desire. Gu Mengmeng waved her hand and said, "It's good that you haven't eaten yet, come and eat with me." Mandy agreed readily and happily sat down diagonally opposite Gu Mengmeng. Gu Mengmeng chuckled. The smell left behind by Elvis and Leah on the stone bench was a declaration that this was the master's seat and she could not sit there. And the seat diagonally opposite Gu Mengmeng was the one that Wabi-Ai had sat on before. The smell was also very domineering and Gu Mengmeng was probably the only one in the beast world who had the guts to sit there. And the seat diagonally opposite was more fluid. Oriton, Barit, Ian, Fei Rue, and the other guests had all sat there before, so Mandy automatically sat there. Gu Mengmeng did not say anything and just scooped a big ladle of meat into Mandy's bowl. "Lee's cooking is especially good. Eat more." Mandy smiled sweetly. She took the bowl from Gu Mengmeng and took a bite, before letting out a satisfied sigh. Gu Mengmeng could clearly see the word happiness on her face. As Mandy ate, she said to Gu Mengmeng, "Great messenger, I heard the witch doctor ask Ian something about the love of the sky when I left. Ian didn't seem to want to talk about it." Gu Mengmeng paused and looked up at Mandy. "You have already mated with Ian?" Mandy smiled shyly and nodded. "Yes, we did it the day before yesterday." As she spoke, Mandy turned around. Between her two shoulder blades was a soaring eagle owl. It looked as if it was passing through a mountain stream, its gaze sharp and unstoppable. This was probably his most confident appearance. Gu Mengmeng chuckled. Congratulations." Mandy smiled sweetly and said, "I still have to thank the great messenger for this matter. If you hadn't agreed, Ian would definitely have rejected me. On the day of mating, Ian told me that he had actually liked me long ago. However, as the previous master of the Eagle Owl tribe, he had responsibilities and obligations that he could not shirk from. Hence, he could only suppress his feelings and said that he had wronged me. He even apologized to me." Chapter 11-15. Mandy immediately became nervous. She pursed her lips and asked timidly, "Great messenger, are you angry at him?" Gu Mengmeng smiled and shook her head. "I usually rebuke him on the spot. I won't settle scores with him later. Mandy heaved a sigh of relief. That's good, that's good. I was still worried. Ian was different from the other males in the beast world. He was probably the only one who would rebuke Gu Mengmeng other than Wabi. He was not afraid of her strength and identity like most males, nor was he blindly subservient like those males who had special thoughts about her. His loyalty could be compared to Barit's, but he would not treat her in a state of absolute obedience like Barit. Ian was the type who would help you even if he rebuked you. He was the type who would do anything for you while scolding you. Gu Mengmeng had thought that Ian would not say any sweet nothings with his sarcastic mouth. She did not expect him to apologize. Looking at Mandy's bashful expression, she must have been flirted with quite a bit. TSK, you bird. You still have two faces. However, Gu Mengmeng did not expose Ian. After all, Mandy's family was different from hers and Sandy's. Mandy's family already had 27 partners. Under such intense competition, as a good friend, Gu Mengmeng naturally could not be a burden to Ian. Did you just say that Leo went to find Ian to ask about the love of the sky? Gu Mengmeng changed the topic. Mandy nodded. Yes, but Ian seemed to be avoiding it and did not want to talk about it. Yeah, it was naturally the right thing to ask someone who could fly about the sky. Ian's attitude was that he did not want to talk about it, not that he did not know. That meant that Leah did not find the wrong person. With Ian's brain, how long could he last under Lee's hands? Yeah, it had been a long time since she saw the black-bellied Leah online. Gu Mengmeng suddenly pitied Ian. Is the love of the sky what the great messenger is looking for? Mandy tilted her head and asked. Gu Mengmeng nodded as an answer. Mandy smiled and said, then I'll go back and help the Lord Messenger persuade Ian to tell the witch doctor everything he knows. Gu Mengmeng put down her chopsticks and looked at Mandy. Mandy, why don't you just call me by my name like Sandy? Great messenger, sounds so awkward. Can I? Mandy's eyes lit up. She felt like a little fan who had suddenly gotten her idol's private WeChat ID. Gu Mengmeng nodded. Yeah, of course. Gu Mengmeng. Mandy's eyes sparkled as her lips curled up uncontrollably. She called out Gu Mengmeng's name softly. Yeah. Gu Mengmeng responded, nodding and smiling. Ah. Mandy held her face in her hands and screamed. Just like a fan. Gu Mengmeng was actually quite surprised. After all, Mandy had joined Saint Nazaire for more than a year. Although she rarely stayed in Saint Nazaire, it was not to the extent that she would be so excited just by calling her name. After Mandy calmed herself down, she also felt that she had been very rude. She put down her bowl with a red face and said, Messenger. Gu Mengmeng, I'll go back first. You're not eating. Gu Mengmeng looked at the remaining half bowl of meat in Mandy's bowl and asked in confusion, You're tuning in to the LoveLore Library YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.